Hello. Whoa, hi there. Welcome to my studio. My name is Heather, and I am going to talk to you a little bit today about doodling and having some fun and relaxing. Things are a little bit wonky right now, a little stressful for all of us, and I find one of the things that I really love to do is just doodle and make some lines on a paper. There's something so releasing and freeing in that act of moving and making lines and making shapes, and it's fabulous. And you might like it. So I thought I'd tell you about it in case you do. So it's easy to get started. Today I tore out a piece of paper from a book. It's kind of already got some marks on it, so we're just going to go with it. The edge is crooked. Who cares? We're just doodling. I grabbed some markers and pen and pencil, and I suggest that you choose a few contrasting materials that you have around the house. So you can grab a piece of notebook paper, graph paper is fun, construction paper, whatever. Printer paper is really awesome too. So grab a piece of paper, a couple of different mark makers, and let's get started. So one of the things I do before I get started is just kind of take a deep breath, kind of relax for a minute, look at the materials, look at the paper, and just kind of think about what I'm going to do. Although I know when I get started, I don't really know what the image is going to look like, but I know that I just want to be able to let go, not be too consumed with what the final product is, and be thinking more about the experience and the process of doing this. So if I were standing and I could do this, I would. I mean, stretch your arms out, loosen it up, maybe do this a little bit, just kind of pretending for a minute before you actually get started. Then choose one of your mark makers. So I'm going to choose this pen. This is my favorite. And we're just going to make some marks. I have a rough surface under here, which is going to surely get in the way of smooth, fabulous lines, but I don't care. I'm just going to go with it. So I'm going to start off my doodle today with a scribble. And that's how it all starts. Just a simple scribble on the paper. So making these doodles and lines and shapes, I know you do it when you're in meetings. I know you do it when you're on hold on the phone. I know you do it when you're sitting still for a moment and you have a writing utensil. It's the same thing. It's this idea of just moving. And maybe there's something in that I like. Just this idea that I'm sitting still, I'm waiting, something else is happening, but in that pause or in that moment where I'm in between taking action and the thing that's about to happen, maybe having something like this to do just helps me stay grounded and stay with it. I don't know. I'm sure it's different for all of us. This process of making lines, just trace the lines with a darker surface, a darker pen, marker, and just go with it. I don't know what's happening. I'm just tracing some lines right now. I like to trace the lines and make big flowy lines. Most of my doodles are flowy. However, I also really like some structure, some grids. Those are fun to play with too. Top the lines off with a little circle. There are certain shapes and patterns that I repeat, and I notice that I repeat them because I'm always scribbling. And that's what's kind of cool. You know, some days I scribble and it's very messy and unorganized. And this one, a couple of days ago, that was a little messy and a little wonky, but it's a good representation of where I was at that moment, you know. This one that I did this morning, I was trying to just kind of think about my day and relax and figure out what I want to do. And I feel like this one is pretty fun and energized. It was first thing in the morning before everything starts happening, so I got a little more energy then. But when you're doing a doodle, don't overthink it. Just play. You know, if you give these utensils to a 3-year-old, they're just going to jump right in and play. They're not going to be, oh, I don't know. I don't think my line's going to be right. I don't think it's going to look good enough. I don't think it's going to be. They're just doing. And I think that's the beauty of this process. If you give into it, you can just do. And throw it in the trash when you're done if you want. Or not. Keep it. Look at it again. Play with it again. But the idea of sitting down with a few simple materials and taking a break for yourself is so critical right now. It's critical all the time, but especially now. So you can make some different lines on here. Once you get started with the doodle and the lines and the spaces, the thing that I like to do next is, instead of looking at it as a whole, I start looking at it in fragments, sections. These little sections here. So each one is separate. I'm going to start filling them in with different things. So maybe now I want to get my pencil out, and in this section, maybe I'm going to put a series of straight lines. Maybe that's all that's going to go there. Just some nice little lines. Maybe in here it's going to be squiggly cloud shapes. Maybe I'm going to add some lines again that kind of overlap and don't make any sense. I like that. Let's see. I guess I'll use a skinny one now. Do a little zigzag. You get a feel for what you like. The first few might feel a little weird, might give you a little anxiety. I'm going to encourage you to keep going, keep making them, keep playing. Find out what you like. You'll find out also what you don't like. It's fun to do this. Just make some lines, make some marks. See what happens. It's almost like opening up a new part of you every single day, or every time you sit down to make one, because something is going to come out, an image on the page that you've never made before. And there's something really fascinating about that to me, that idea of pulling something new out of your head, out of your awareness every time you sit down. I love that. It's endless. I love it. It's absolutely endless. You could do this forever and have different doodles every time. And I just enjoy that. Some people like to write, some people journal, some people maybe are runners and get that rush. This is where mine's at. And I think it's a lot of fun, because when I started doing these on a regular basis a few years ago, it was to release stress. So I would shut the door in my office and spend 10 or 15 minutes just drawing. And I can see some of those. I still remember what was going on when I was creating them, when I was doodling, because it was a way of me to pull that out and put it here. This is now the place that holds it. And even now looking at it, I'll say, oh, I remember that. I remember what was going on then. I remember that moment in time that's gone now. And I had an opportunity to kind of play with it and express it in a safe way, in a new way, get it out of my head. Here it is, and it's gone. And I think now, all these years later, doing these all the time and trying to incorporate new materials into them and trying to make paintings from them and do collage with this, it's a wonderful way to keep exploring how you respond to the world around you and how you show up. And that's kind of important, since we're here showing up every day. It's important to know what works for you and what doesn't, what's helpful for you, what you should avoid. So it's fun to find out different systems you have too. I love to make circles, so I make little circles everywhere. You could make circles, you could continue to add shapes throughout it. There's no wrong way to do it. And you just keep working on it until you feel like it's enough, until you feel like you're done. Maybe you're doodling for 5 minutes. Maybe you're doing it for a half an hour. It's really depends on how much time you have and how much energy you want to put into it. and how much energy you need to get out of you. How much time do you need to disconnect and play a little bit? Because we are kind of busy right now. And I think a lot of folks are trying to be less busy and trying to find ways to manage everything that's going on. And if you haven't used art as a tool to do that yet, I strongly recommend you do it because it is really a fabulous experience. I compare this process of doodling to rinsing my brain out. And I love that visual of rinsing my head, like getting all that extra out of there so I can be fresh and new and feeling really good and energized. So, this is how I do a doodle. This is what I do. I just play around. I play around with lines. I play around with different shapes. I find a small section that maybe I like right here. Keep adding to it. And look for those small little gaps in here. Just work on one little thing at a time. Focus on one section. Think about how these little spaces line up next to each other. And do you want to separate them somehow? Do you want to bring them together? Do you want to trace every other one? Just try and do new things with it each time you come across that section. And see what happens. Who knows? Something amazing might happen. I encourage you to give this a try. And when you feel like you're done doodling and you feel like that's it, I've done enough, flip that page over and use one of your writing utensils to write down the date, write down what's going on in your life right now, write down how it felt to do this and what you think when you look at your doodle you've made. Capture the moment and then take a look at it down the road. If you're feeling really stressed out right now and you're doing something, maybe it helps you. Maybe it takes your stress level down a notch. Write that down and think about it. And then do it again. Do it later today. Do it tomorrow. Do it next weekend. Maybe you're feeling really amazing and on top of the world and everything is working out. Write that down. Capture that moment. Capture it on the back and take a look at it again and see how you're feeling. But that's it. I appreciate you showing up today and trying the doodle. Give it a try. We'll do some more stuff again in the future. But I like this idea of playing with this line and the shape and the paper with a few things you have around the house, making it so easily accessible and giving yourself a little break. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.